People who cry easily aren't weak. Their brains may simply be processing life more deeply than everyone else. And if you were taught to hide your tears, psychology may suggest something very different. Your nervous system might be doing exactly what it was designed to do. People who cry easily were probably taught to see it as weakness. But psychology suggests it may be one of the clearest signs their nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Short-form alternative. People who cry easily aren't weak. Their brains may simply be processing life more deeply than everyone else. The lie we were all sold. Picture this. You're 7 years old. You fall off your bike. Your knee is bleeding. You cry. And the adult standing over you doesn't ask if you're okay. They say, "Stop that. Be strong. You're fine." In that single moment, before you could even process what happened, you received a lesson that would quietly shape how you see yourself for decades. Emotions are inconvenient. Visible emotions are weakness. And tears, in particular, are something to be hidden away as fast as possible. Now think about how many times that lesson got reinforced. The teacher who told a crying student to pull themselves together in front of the whole class. The coach who said crying was for people who didn't want it badly enough. The parent who looked away, not cruelly, but because they genuinely didn't know what else to do. We inherited a script, and most of us never questioned it. The message was consistent, regardless of where it came from. Emotions are fine, as long as they stay inside. But let them out, especially through tears, and something is wrong with you. You're too sensitive, too soft, not built for this world. And the worst part? Almost everyone who told you that genuinely believed it. They were just passing down the same lie that was passed down to them. A generational script, a cultural reflex, a mistake compounded across lifetimes. Today, we're going to look at what psychology and neuroscience actually say, not what your third-grade teacher believed, not what the culture told you, but what the research has quietly been uncovering for decades. And what it says might completely change how you see yourself or someone you love. The 20% who feel everything. Let me introduce you to someone. Her name is Maya. She's 29, works in marketing, and by every external measure, has her life together. But she spent most of her adult life with one quiet secret she doesn't tell people. She cries easily. At commercials. At songs she's heard 100 times. When a stranger on the subway looks sad. When someone is unexpectedly kind to her. And for years, she thought something was wrong with her. What Maya didn't know, what most people don't know, is that she may simply be wired differently. Not broken, not dramatic, just operating on a different frequency. In the 1990s, psychologist Dr. Elaine Aron began studying a trait that had been misunderstood and mislabeled for decades. She found that roughly 1 in 5 people appear to process the world at a fundamentally deeper level than average. She called them highly sensitive people, HSPs. And the defining feature wasn't fragility. It was depth of processing. When an HSP watches the news, they don't just absorb information. They feel the weight behind every story. When someone in the room shifts their mood, they pick it up before anyone else has noticed. When a piece of music hits a particular chord progression, something in their body responds before their mind has time to explain why. Now, and this is important, not everyone who cries easily is a highly sensitive person. Crying can be influenced by many things: stress, exhaustion, hormones, personal history. But for many people who have been told they feel too much, the HSP framework offers the first explanation that actually fits. Not more dramatic, not more fragile, just more completely present to everything happening around them. What the brain scans actually show. Here's where the science gets hard to argue with. Researchers have scanned the brains of highly sensitive people while showing them emotionally charged images, and 2 regions consistently light up with greater intensity than in the average person. The insula, linked to self-awareness and empathy, and the mirror neuron system, the circuitry that allows us to internally simulate what we observe in others, both show stronger activation. These differences are visible, measurable, and appear consistently across studies. In practice, this means when a sensitive person watches someone else cry, their brain doesn't just register the emotion as information. It begins to replicate it. A tightness in the chest, a lump in the throat, eyes that fill before any decision has been made. Researchers call this empathic resonance. And in sensitive people, it's not a dimmer switch, it's closer to a direct line. Someone else's pain doesn't just reach them. It lands inside them. They aren't receiving too much. They're receiving a signal the rest of us have learned to filter out. The cost nobody talks about. There's a side of this that almost nobody names out loud. And it's the part that, if you're a sensitive person, you've probably lived in silence for most of your life. It is exhausting. Not in the way people think, not dramatic, not theatrical. Just quietly, constantly draining in a way that's hard to explain to someone who doesn't experience it. Imagine going to a party. You're not just socializing. You're unconsciously tuned in to every undercurrent in the room. The couple that's been arguing all week, but smiling tonight. The friend who says she's fine in a tone that means she's absolutely not fine. The host who's stretched too thin, but won't ask for help. The colleague whose joke lands wrong and who notices, even though no one else did. You didn't try to absorb any of that. You didn't ask for it. But by 9 p.m., you're already tired in a way that has nothing to do with staying up late. You didn't ask to pick that up. You didn't choose to carry it home. But at 11 p.m., lying in bed staring at the ceiling, you're still replaying that look on someone's face. Still turning over a conversation that ended 4 hours ago. Still feeling, fully and freshly, a version of something that everyone else has already moved past. Psychologists call this emotional rumination. For sensitive people, it isn't drama. It's almost a reflex, the mind continuing to process what it hasn't finished with yet. And here's what's almost never said. It isn't suffering without purpose. The same people who lie awake replaying conversations are often the ones who later arrive at insights others missed entirely, who understand a situation more deeply, who know exactly what went wrong, not because they analyzed it, but because they felt their way all the way through it. The price of depth is that you can't always control when processing happens. But the output, when it comes, is often remarkable. What tears actually are. For a long time, crying was treated as purely social, a visible signal to communicate distress. But more recent research raises a more interesting possibility. What if crying also serves a biological function? Some studies suggest emotional tears carry a different chemical composition than regular tears, with elevated levels of stress-related compounds. The hypothesis is that crying may help the body process and release the biochemical residue of emotional activation. It's still being studied, and researchers are careful not to overstate it. But the pattern is consistent enough to take seriously. If you've ever had a long, genuine cry and felt afterward that something had settled, lighter, quieter, like pressure finally released, that may be your nervous system completing a cycle it needed to finish. Their body may simply be completing an emotional process that others have learned to interrupt and are still carrying quietly, long after the moment passed. The strengths hidden in plain sight. Let's go back to Maya. At work, she's not the loudest person in the room, but she's the one her team goes to when something is really wrong. Not because she'll fix it, but because she'll actually listen. Because she'll notice the thing that wasn't said. Because she'll make you feel understood in a way that's increasingly rare. She has no idea how uncommon that is. She thinks everyone can do what she does. They can't. Ask yourself, who in your life do you call when something is really wrong? Not when you need a solution, but when you need to feel like a human being who's been through something hard. Think about whether they cry easily. People with high emotional sensitivity tend to be present listeners, absorbing what's said and noticing what isn't. They carry high emotional self-awareness, built from years of navigating a rich inner world just to function in it. And they offer something increasingly rare, genuine, unguarded connection, still fully permeable to what's actually happening, to the beauty and grief and unexpected tenderness of ordinary life. In medicine, in leadership, in teaching, in parenting, these are not soft skills. These are the skills. And the people who have them most naturally are often the ones who were told, for years, that something was wrong with them for having them. What if we've had it backwards this whole time? There's an image we've built up over centuries of what strength looks like. The person who never flinches, who keeps a stone face through the hardest moments, who absorbs everything and shows nothing, who moves through the world looking unmoved, unshaken, unbothered. We admire that image. We've been taught to want it. But here's the question I want you to sit with. What is that actually costing? The person who has learned to feel nothing, or to perform feeling nothing, what are they carrying that they'll never let anyone see? What are they shutting out along with the pain? What conversations have they never been able to have? What relationships have stayed shallow because they couldn't go there? It takes no courage to feel nothing. It takes real strength to remain permeable to this world after everything it shows you. The people who cry easily, who haven't traded their sensitivity for social approval, who are still fully present to the weight and beauty and strangeness of being alive, they aren't doing the easy thing. They're doing the harder thing. They're staying open in a world that keeps telling them to close. So if you're someone who cries easily, I want to say something directly to you. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not something that needs to be fixed or managed or toughened up. You are operating at a frequency most people have been trained to silence. And the world, whether it knows it or not, whether it says so or not, needs that frequency. It needs people who still feel it, who haven't stopped, who, despite everything, remain. That's not weakness wearing the wrong label. That is a form of courage most people quietly wish they had. If this shifted something for you, even slightly, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment. Were you ever told your sensitivity was a flaw? I'd genuinely like to know. Or not. Needs you exactly as you are.